To quote one of our founders, Women's Center and Shelter began as a twinkle in the eye of Ellen Berliner and me. Me was co-founder Ann Statler. In 1974, there was no such thing as a women's center. Men had bars, restaurants, and clubs. Women had no such places. So Ellen and Ann created one. The women's movement was in full swing. Friends and a group from South Hills Now contributed time and money. The result was the Women's Center South, housed in a storefront in Dormont. Humble beginnings indeed for one of the first 6 shelters in the United States for battered women. Flyers were handed out, and women began coming. As Ann described it, we learned to our horror that 40% of the women who found their way to us had been beaten. Without even realizing it, we had transitioned from the women's movement to the battered women's movement. And we began providing care for women who were coming to us because the person who had promised to love and cherish them had instead physically abused them. Over the years, that care has been offered in various locations, from the YWCA in Homewood Brushton to the basement of the Pittsburgh Theological Seminary to Pittsburgh's East End. In 1996, we moved into our current facility that houses 36 women and children, and where 140,000 individuals have benefited from our comprehensive prevention and intervention services. Today, Women's Center and Shelter continues to be at the forefront of the battered women's movement, creating innovative programs aimed at preventing domestic violence and providing services to victims of that violence. When you're a victim of domestic violence and your partner and abuser is a police officer, where do you turn for help? Amber found hope at the Women's Center and Shelter.
He pulled out his gun. He dug his gun into my temple. My son's head was laying right next to mine, between the couch and my head. And I kept saying, the baby. Please don't hurt the baby. And it seemed like the more I begged, the more he got heated. And for some reason, I just saw blood all over the place. And I said, please don't get my blood on our baby. Somehow I managed to get out of that. My 3 children and I ended up staying at the shelter. When you have someone who's constantly nitpicking you, someone who uses force, puts their hands on you, you have no sense of hope. You feel defeated, you feel weak. But I felt free. And I went to school, I got my education, I went to undergrad, I went on to get my graduate degree. I could not have done that if I didn't have people there who encouraged me and believed in me. I'm happy to actually live. I'm happy to actually live.
When Prerna came to America to work on her PhD, the last thing she expected was to be the victim of intimate partner violence at the hands of a fellow PhD candidate and assistant professor with whom she worked.
There was an episode where he came to my apartment at 2:30 in the morning. He put me in his car and took me to his apartment, where he beat me up again for 4 hours, dragged me down the stairs and threw me outside his house. The only thing that was different then was that I was a different person. I was strong, I could call 911, I could talk to the police, I could talk to my counselor. I immediately called the women's hotline. They advised me when the next advocate would be in place, and they told me to go to the PFA office immediately. The fact that I had a legal advocate with me every time I went to court was very, very assuring that I was safe even when I was in court. My abuser was charged with 6 misdemeanors, so there were a ton of court hearings. He had hired one of the best lawyers, so it was a tough fight, but there was not a single day when I was by myself. There was a legal advocate on every single day with me. They're like God-sent angels who are there by your side in times of difficulties. Life is beautiful, and nobody deserves to be treated that way.
Rhonda literally had to stab her abuser to escape a situation that threatened the life of her family and find her way to the Women's Center and Shelter.
I thought that when you got hit, that he loved you. I hadn't talked in so long that all I could say was, You know, he had controlled what I thought, what I would say. So I figured if I just said, everything would be okay. I was here during a support group. It was the first time I ever trusted someone that I didn't know enough to say, help me. You all take care of us who come out of abusive relationships and how you help us get our voices back. It taught me about responsibility. It taught me that it's okay to smile. It's okay to cry. It's okay not to put yourself in those situations again. And now I'm the first one in my family to go to college. It's just an awesome, awesome feeling to be alive.
A Pittsburgh police SWAT team saved Deborah's life. Women's Center and Shelter helped her rebuild that life, replacing fear with hope.
So he let one of the officers set his gun down, come up onto the front porch. I handed my son out the window. As I'm handing my son out, he had the gun to my daughter's head, a loaded gun to his 3-year-old daughter's head. While the cops are there, because I guess he figured, she's his shield. Let her out the window. I tried climbing out, but he yanked me back in. I was that close to death. My daughter was that close to death because of an abusive person. I truly appreciate all the help that was given. You can't thank anyone enough. The Women's Center and Shelter have been very close with my case, with myself, and still to this day are in contact with me, which is, it's amazing that somebody would be that dedicated to one person. And I'm sure if I'd called my legal advocate today, she would do anything I asked. And if I needed help, she'd find a way. She has already given me the insights to what I may or may not need to do in 11 more years when he will be released from prison. She knows my fears, that I am deathly afraid that he will finish what he started. She's already given me, again, the insight as to moving, name change, anything I need to do. The Women's Center will step in and help me. If I need to drop what I'm doing and move and I need clothes and anything I need, they're right there.
As we celebrate our 40th anniversary, that celebration is tempered by the knowledge that intimate partner violence has increased over those years, and our services are needed more than ever. Throughout the past 4 decades, we have been witness to the triumph of the human spirit. We've seen firsthand the strength and the courage of the victims of domestic violence, and we have been privileged to help thousands and thousands of women rebuild their lives. With the help of everyone who is committed to ending intimate partner violence, our work must and will continue.
Every day is a day full of hope.
I'm not a person to be abused. I know I'm someone to be respected.
It's amazing what you all do for us.
There's hope out there. There's tons of hope out there.